as alleged comments made by a major Conservative donor continued yesterday as further allegations emerged.
This comes as Sunak faced mounting pressure yesterday to hand back that 10 million quid donated by Frank Hester and his healthcare firm. He's now, basically, at Prime Minister's question time, he was absolutely battered on this because people are saying, if it's racist, stand up, give him the money back. Many people think he can't afford to give it back. Have a listen.
Mr. Speaker, the man bankrolling the Prime Minister also said that the member for Hackney North should be shot. Shame. How low would he have to sink? What racist, woman-hating threat of violence would he have to make before the Prime Minister plucked up the courage to hand back the £10 million that he's taken from him?
Mr. Speaker, I'm absolutely not going to take any lectures from somebody who chose to represent an anti-Semitic terrorist group, Hizb ut-Tahrir, who chose to serve a leader who let anti-Semitism run rife in this Labour Party. Those are his actions, those are his values, and that's how he should be judged.
Well, we're now joined by TalkTV political correspondent Alicia Fitzgerald again and former Labour advisor John McTernan. Thank you both for coming on. Why doesn't he just give the 10 million back then? Can you help me out here?
I can try my very best, but because it's 10 million quid, Jeremy, and because, quite frankly, in political terms, that is a lot of money. And that's not to justify it, it's not to say it's right, but realistically, we're approaching an election. The Conservative Party need all the money they can get for their campaigning, for all these things that cost a lot of money to do. And he's going to look at that and say, there is no way I'm giving that back.
OK, but what's he going to look about people who say you're racist by not giving the money back?
But I think so. I think it's skewed logic, and I'm not defending it, but I'm just trying to explain maybe where the way that they're looking at this. Sure. So I think they think that by saying it's not racist and just saying it's rude, they are therefore not accepting money from a racist. So I think the moment that they come forward and say, actually, yes, his comments were racist, then people say, what, so you're happily accepting money from someone who you know and you accept is racist? And at the moment, I think they feel like they can get away with saying, well, we don't think it's racist, so actually we're not accepting money from a racist.
Sunak has said that. He said that the comments were racist eventually. It took him a long time to do it. But regarding this 10 million, his wife's a billionaire.
What has that got to do with it?
Well, because she could presumably, if he has to give back the 10 million, can you talk about why he can't just get that money, for example, from his wife? Are there rules against that?
I mean, not specifically, as in, like, she probably could, but, like, realistically, she has a kind of interest in him, right? So, like, it would be a bit of a weird thing to happen. That doesn't normally happen. Someone who is in such close cahoots with someone in the cabinet donating money to the party. It's usually external people. So I think it would be really unlikely for her to do that. And also, it's just not the done thing. I think the way that he would look at it is, you know, this man has given us this money, why do we give it back to him? Because he's made racist comments.
Not a great look.
And it's not a great look, is it? Bringing in a former Labour advisor, John McTernan. John, you must have heard the news this morning about this new definition of extremism. We've been discussing this morning as to whether Frank Hester's comments would actually be now categorised as extremism because of what he said about black women and about shooting Diane Abbott. Could this not be the case that, according to the government's new definition of extremism, and the fact that the government should not fund anybody who is seen to be an extremist, they may now have to give that £10 million back?
Look, I think the government have got themselves into absolute contortions about this. And you were right to raise the fact that Hester said he wanted to shoot Diane Abbott. Now, it's not an abstract idea. We've had 2 MPs murdered by extremists in the last decade. And that is a terrible, terrible truth about British politics. There are people out there who respond to language of violence by actually acts of violence. And I think the government should have thought before just refusing to give the money back. They've got themselves to a place, and Alicia was right. They're trying to say the words might be racist, but he's not racist. He just said a racist thing. And it sounds desperate. And I think it's not just Rishi's wife. I think Rishi himself could probably find £10 million behind the back of his own sofa. So they could get themselves out of it, but they clearly are worried about Labour raising money, about needing money to go on the attack in the election campaign. The hard thing to see in all of this, see through the mist of it all, is what is the government offering to the country? Every single week, they try to have a story which they want to impose on us to make us talk about. National insurance, the budget last week, anti-extremism this week, and every single week their behaviour cuts across it. And there was a meeting with Graham Brady, who's the chairman of the Backbench 1922 committee, the most senior Tory backbencher, who was just meeting on his own with Rishi Sunak this week. And one assumes he wasn't saying, well done, man, you're doing a great job, carry on, you've got the full confidence of the party. It just feels like someone needs to put this horse out of its misery.
Jeremy?
I find the optics and on a weekly basis, John, I just find it extraordinary. We've also had today, and we have Diane Abbott's come out with a long statement saying that the Tories and Labour are racist. I mean, this is a woman, let's be perfectly honest, nobody should be able to say somebody should be shot. You're absolutely right to point out about those 2 MPs that were killed. I don't like Diane Abbott, I don't agree with much that she says, but you can't go around saying that. But wasn't it interesting yesterday? I mean, there's another thing that I thought was, on a debate about what was said about her, she tried to get up 46 times. And let's not forget, won't be popular, but let's not forget, she is no longer a member of your party. She was thrown out of your party a year ago for making what Keir Starmer, your leader, who is desperate to clear up that belief that there is anti-Semitism in your party, you're not welcome back. And yet overnight, all the Momentum crew, McDonnell and Harman, they're all saying she should be brought back in. I would put this to you, right? What was said to her was absolutely wrong. But that in no way justifies saying, oh, you can come back into the Labour Party now. That's a problem, isn't it?
I've been saying since she was suspended from the Labour Party, she should come back. So I was there first, well before the Momentum lot, because Diane did apologise. What she said was crass. What she said was offensive.
You could say, and I'm not going to be getting to a position where I'm going to be vilified, but Frank Hester, who I do not like and I didn't agree, he apologised. So what's the difference?
He didn't admit that it was racist.
So the difference is...
Did she admit that she was anti-Semitic?
No, all he said was, I was rude. Now, it's not rude to threaten to shoot somebody. It's not rude to say...
I'm absolutely with you, but Nicola just said to me, and I didn't know this, that he didn't say it was racist, which is wrong. Did has Diane Abbott apologised for anti-Semitic language, yes or no?
Yes, she has.
She has? Where's that then?
She said it almost immediately afterwards. But the issue with Diane is she's a senior, serious figure, important figure in British politics, London politics, black politics, politics for feminism as well. I think she undoubtedly has to go on some form of training about awareness, racial awareness, and all these issues. I think she was wrong to erect a hierarchy of racism, all racism, anti-Semitism. They're all contemptible, should all be condemned. But your point you started with is she was in the House of Commons, a rare appearance by her. She's been ill recently. She came in and she sat there, tried to speak 46 times. And are we to believe that the Speaker of the House of Commons, who told us they messed around with the order of amendments only a couple of weeks ago because he cared about threats of violence from members of Parliament. Does he not care about the threats of violence to Diane Abbott? Did he not see her there?
I can't believe that he didn't. I can't believe, bring Alicia back in, I cannot believe that Sir Lindsay Hill, for exactly what John said, I'm concerned about safety. There was massive, massive furore over that. You've changed the way Parliament works. His job was hanging by a thread. Whatever I think about Diane Abbott, why the hell would you not allow her to speak yesterday?
I think pretty much everyone agrees with that. I mean, even people who are vocal critics of Diane Abbott, even people who yesterday were a bit kind of hesitant about calling it racist, still have come forward and said that was not on. But there is a kind of theory floating around, and that is because of what happened a few weeks ago with the amendment situation, that Lindsay Hill yesterday didn't want to slightly change parliamentary process and call Diane Abbott up because he'd end up in the same situation. So he has a list of MPs that are decided before Prime Minister's questions who are already set to answer a question. And some people are saying, well, maybe his logic was to kind of just protect himself there. He was thinking, you know, if I suddenly kick someone else off this list in order to fit her in...
So the Speaker of the House of Commons, having made a mistake, is now watching what he says and does in case he gets criticised again.
Maybe.
John, I don't want to appear cynical, and I genuinely mean this, but one of the things that I go on about every single morning is I think the British public, whatever their political persuasion, on an hourly basis are getting more and more and more fed up, if it's possible, with our political class. I really do. I genuinely do.
I don't disagree with you at all. I think, you know, just as on Israel-Gaza, the country wants a ceasefire. They want to see Parliament speaking for them, not rowing with each other. I think on this one, ordinary, decent people in Britain go, it's clearly racist. We can tell what is a racist thing to say. And the Tory party should give the money back. And they're going into contortions because it's all about them. It's not about the country. And the longer this parliament, this sick parliament goes on, doing nothing, rowing internally, everybody playing for political advantage, the Tory party the most because they're the biggest party and the most split. And amazingly enough, they've gone from a majority of 84 to under 60 now with Lee Anderson's defection. It all seems to be about the games inside the Tory party leaking over into the government, leaking over into into Parliament. And where are people talking about crime? Where are people talking about waiting lists in the NHS? It's not in Parliament, is it?
Alicia, I just want to get your comment on this. Michael Gove was speaking on our sister station this morning, Times Radio, and he was asked whether Tory donor Frank Hester could be considered to be an extremist under the government's new definition, a question I put to John earlier. The Community Secretary, Michael Gove, said, different people will have different views. Now, this is on the very same day
Let's try and be balanced.
He said, no, why am I not being balanced?
We should try... No, just crack on, go on.
Different people will have different views, and yet he is the one himself who has pushed for a definition of what extremism is. So how can he, on the same day, say, this is what extremism is, and different people will have different views?
Well, yeah, I think there's a bit of a clash there. And Jeremy, you look like you're really desperate to say
I'm
something
listening.
to add balance.
I'm listening.
I'm just intrigued about what the balance is, because, I mean, clearly...
He's made it his own making, hasn't he?
Well, yeah, I mean,
made
you're
an
coming
absolute
forward and
mess
saying
of it himself.
that we need to be stricter and have a more prescribed definition of what extremism is, but then saying, well, actually, you know, people can think what they think.
It's the overall view, isn't it? And I sort of go with what John said. I'm not going to defend Michael Gove. I'm not going to defend anybody, but I'll say this. They seem... I mean, it's almost like we're going through this limbo, sort of painful, sort of slow death. It's almost as... And I think the British people, you know... I mean, it said the other day, John, about, like, tax cuts. I don't think I've ever known in all my life that British people will go, we don't want tax cuts because we know it's going to cost us money down the line because we're actually more intelligent than you're giving us credit for. I think the whole thing, genuinely going back to it, I think the whole thing is becoming a farce, almost. I really do. And I wouldn't be surprised if half the country didn't vote. What do you reckon?
Well, I think it's out of time. That's what I reckon.
It's out of time, John.
It's out of time.
It's out of time, Alicia.
Alicia Fitzgerald
Thank you.
and former Labour advisor John McTernan. Thank you so much.